Ms. Evelyn Reed taught classical rhetoric, a subject the students, particularly the data science majors, viewed with polite pity. She was an antique in a world of algorithms, and Ethan Thorne was her chief skeptic. Ethan was, undeniably, brilliant. He was 19, already interned at a major tech firm, and carried himself with the air of a man who'd already solved the world's problems. He saw the humanities as charming relics. The inciting incident occurred during a lecture on Cicero. Ethan, scrolling visibly on his laptop, interrupted. Ms. Reed, respectfully, why are we dedicating 3 hours a week to ancient public speaking? I can train a large language model to write a perfectly coherent political manifesto in 30 seconds. Efficiency has rendered persuasion obsolete. The class chuckled nervously. Evelyn, a slender woman whose gray eyes missed nothing, simply adjusted her glasses. Mr. Thorne, an algorithm can create a manifesto. But can it feel the subtle shift in the room? Can it understand the historical weight of a pause? No. It has information, but no wisdom, Ethan smirked. A distinction without a difference in the job market, I assure you. Evelyn said nothing more, but the challenge was accepted. A month later, the department announced the prestigious Veritas Fellowship, awarded for exceptional analytical writing. The topic was the application of classical philosophy to modern ethical dilemmas. Ethan saw this as his chance to prove his point. He decided not to write the essay himself. He would input the prompt into a sophisticated AI model, one he had personally optimized for persuasive output, and submit the resulting, technically flawless argument. Meanwhile, Evelyn was selected to draft the final evaluation criteria for the judging panel. She took the initial prompt and added a final, crucial subtask, focusing on a single, obscure quote from the Roman rhetorician, Quintilian. The shadow of truth is often the better guide than the sunlight of fact. The task was to analyze this quote in the context of modern information warfare. The instructions were deceptively simple. Find the hidden argument within the phrase. Ethan was confident. His AI, fed thousands of hours of rhetorical analysis, produced a 9-page document that was a marvel of logical structure. It meticulously disassembled the quote, interpreting shadow as misinformation and sunlight as data transparency. The result was a technically dense argument about the ethics of data censorship. It was complex, academic, and dryly accurate. But Evelyn knew the true meaning of the quote. A subtle piece of historical context, Quintilian was referring to the necessity of narrative over raw data when addressing human emotion, the fact that people are often more moved by a well-told lie, the shadow, than a poorly presented truth, the fact. The quote wasn't about data ethics, it was about human psychology and the mechanics of belief. Ethan's AI, lacking the human experience of irony, history, and narrative, had missed the subtext entirely, interpreting the metaphor literally as a simple good versus bad scenario. It was flawlessly wrong. The results were announced in the atrium. Ethan's name was notably absent from the top 3. The fellowship went to a student whose essay, while less polished than Ethan's AI-generated tract, demonstrated a profound, human understanding of the quote's emotional and psychological context, arguing that narrative power, not data, still rules the heart. A furious Ethan found Evelyn packing up her office. I don't understand, he hissed, holding his scored paper. My paper was technically superior. Every sentence was logically sound. The structure was perfect. What was the flaw? Evelyn closed a volume of Seneca and looked up, her expression soft but resolute. Evelyn closed a volume of Seneca and looked up, her expression soft but resolute. The flaw, Mr. Thorne, was that you answered a human question with a machine's logic. You defined the shadow as a lack of light, a scientific phenomenon. But the true shadow in that quote is a rhetorical shadow, the thing we feel, not the thing we prove. She placed her hand on his paper, tracing the passage he'd analyzed. I set a trap, Mr. Thorne, for efficiency without interpretation. Your algorithm found every fact about the sunlight, but it could not perceive the specific, historical shape of the shadow. Only a mind that has wrestled with 2,000 years of human failure and success could do that. She smiled, a tiny, almost sad upturn of her lips. The only person in this university who could have taught you the true context of that quote was me, in the archaic class you found so irrelevant. You saw my class as obsolete, but you needed its wisdom to interpret the very data you were so proud of. That, Mr. Thorne, is the unseen curve. Ethan stared down at the paper. His technical brilliance had been rendered useless by his refusal to accept intellectual humility. He had been outmaneuvered, not by another student, but by the subject he had scorned and the teacher he had dismissed.